Welcome to Mike's Backpacker Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a great dehydrated spaghetti dinner that you can take along with you on your next hike. There are three main reasons why you should think about doing this rather than buying one of those freeze-dried ones from the store. First of all, the quality. My friend and I are always joking about if you want to be a chef that only gets great reviews, make freeze-dried meals for hikers. Anything tastes good at the end of the day. 2, you know exactly what's going into this. And 3, the cost savings are incredible. So let's get cooking and cue that music. I'm using the Nesco FD75A. It comes with 5 trays, but you can actually expand it to 12. It has 2 herb trays, which I use for the ground beef, and 2 fruit roll-up trays, which I use for the sauce. Honestly, there's a lot of other choices you can make as far as the dehydrators go, but having lived in Wisconsin for so long, I know that when you have a potluck at work, everybody brings their dish in a Nesco roaster oven. So let's get going. Now we need to make all the different components for the spaghetti dinner. I know some people online I've seen like to put it all together. They have the meat sauce with the noodles and it's all made up just like they can eat it at home. They put it into the dehydrator and dehydrate it, and then it's all ready to go with them on the hike. I actually prefer to keep the ingredients separate from one another until we reconstitute it back at the campsite. 2 reasons really for that one. One, I like to keep my meals separate from each other, just like I'm a picky eater. But more than that, it's too much like SpaghettiOs to me. If you have all the meat sauce or the noodles and just kind of sitting together the whole time, that's not how I make it at home, and I want to do it more like I do at home. A couple of things with the ground beef. First of all, you want to have some pretty lean cut of ground beef. I always get the 93.7, but you want to keep the fat content low because the fat is what goes rancid when you store it. So starting with less fat in the first place makes it easier to get the rest of it off. Second, not very well kept secret is to use breadcrumbs. A lot of people use the trail name as gravel for ground beef, but when you have the breadcrumbs in there and you use about a half a cup per pound of beef, it actually leaves little pathways open so that when you're rehydrating the meal at the campsite, it comes out nice and soft and actually tastes just like the ground beef you'd make at home. So you take a half a cup of breadcrumbs for each pound of ground beef. So we're just going to pour this in here like this. And I'm going to work it in with my hands. So you can see that when you're all done mixing it in, you don't even see the breadcrumbs anymore. It just looks like regular ground beef. So as you're cooking it up, you want to make sure that the ground beef is broken up into small little pieces. It's going to work a lot better when you go ahead and put it in the dehydrator so that the pieces all dehydrate at about the same rate and it doesn't take forever and a day. Okay, I think we're just about done here. I think one of the things you'll notice when you're cooking and you have the breadcrumbs in there is that the grease doesn't come off very much. I mean, there's not a lot in 93.7 in the first place, but even less so when you have the breadcrumbs in there. So again, that fat is what makes the beef go rancid. So this is something I definitely recommend eating sooner than later. Certainly, if you're going out on a backpacking trip soon, it's going to be just fine. You can always freeze it to keep it longer in the fridge. But there's just not anything to drain here. I'm going to go ahead and put it on some paper towels to drain off whatever I have. Can I just say you have no idea how noisy your house is until you try to make a video? You have the refrigerator running, the air conditioning, the truck that's backing up endlessly. Anyways, these are the trays I was referring to that I always call them the herb trays because they're meant for drying herbs, but the holes are pretty small so the beef doesn't fall through. I already did one tray, and I'm just going to do the other one. You can see you just spread the beef out and dried it off the best I can. There's no real science to this other than you want to keep the pieces pretty even. You don't want to have great big chunks and then smaller chunks, as what they're going to do is dehydrate at a different rate. Okay, next up is the sauce. These are the fruit roll-up trays that I mentioned earlier. That comes with 2 of them. It's just a solid sheet and makes it easy to peel the sauce off once it dehydrates. So you can see, like I said, I'm a very, very, very fancy eater. Prego traditional. I was going with the ragu, but it actually got a little bit bland for my taste. So now let me do the Prego traditional. I'm going to go ahead and spread this over 2 trays, just like I did with the ground beef. And so we'll just kind of eyeball it. Spread it out there like that. You want to make sure the outside edge is a little bit thicker than the inside, just because that one will dry out a little bit faster. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good as far as the sauce goes here. This is actually a lot of fun to dehydrate because it condenses so much. Obviously there's a lot of water in the sauce, so just wait to see what we end up with. Okay, we've got the 2 sheets of ground beef on the bottom. I'm going to wet the 2 sheets of sauce on the top. Go ahead and put the lid on. And we'll just plug it in. We're going to set it to 160 degrees and let it run. Okay, so this has all been in the dehydrator for about 5 hours at this point in time. I just checked it and the beef looks like it's fine. Looks like we need a little bit more time on the sauce, but just to show you, when this beef is done, you can see it just kind of crumbles in your fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside and we'll put the rest of it together later. You can see that the sauce is all dried out at this point in time. Now all we need to do is take it off the sheets, and despite not using any sort of non-stick spray or anything like that, this just peels right off. Look at this. And how light it weighs, it's just amazing. It's like a fruit roll-up, basically. Only other thing I need to do is break it up into small little pieces. I'm going to set it aside in this bowl here. In the past, I've used an osterizer blender to blend this up into much finer pieces. I don't think that's probably necessary, so this time I'm going to live life on the edge and try it without that step. I'll let you know how it goes. I know what you're thinking. Why is he cooking the spaghetti if he's just going to put it in the dehydrator and dry it out? I thought it came dried out from the store. It's a pretty good point. Everyone says you're supposed to cook it, and it's going to reconstitute quicker at the campsite. I have a feeling, if you made me guess, that it has to do with breaking down the starches. That said, I've set aside a couple ounces of spaghetti here that's dry. We'll test that theory. Next step, simply take the spaghetti and place it on the drying trays. You can use the regular old trays for this one. No need to use any of the special attachments. Okay, the cat wanted to be in the movie. Here she is. Her name's Pepper. Okay, the noodles are all done. Now I just need to take them off the racks and put them in the bowl. When I assemble the ingredients, I put them in these food saver bags. I know not only can you vacuum seal it so it lasts a long time, but these are safe to put in boiling water, so I can put the hot boiling water over the top of it without worry of it leaking and making a mess. Now that I have all my ingredients ready, all I need to do is weigh them out into 4 equal portions and put them in the bags. And voila! I've got 4 bags of dehydrated spaghetti. Each one weighs about 5.5 ounces. We'll test one out tonight. Okay, it's dinner time. Let's give one of these a try. I'm going to go ahead and take some boiling hot water and pour it on top. Just going to cover the noodles. Okay, so we've got it all poured in. We're going to give it a stir and then let it sit for about 15 minutes. Here we are, about 15 minutes later. Beautiful bowl of bow tie pasta with spaghetti sauce. Give it a try. Delicious. Hey, didn't you say you're going to check out the uncooked versus cooked pasta? Yeah. I have 1 bag of uncooked versus 1 bag of cooked. It's the exact same weight, but you can see the cooked pasta is actually significantly larger volume. I'm going to go ahead and put water on both of these and see what happens. Both bags have been soaking for 15 minutes now. Let me show you the difference. Here's the one that had already been cooked, nice and soft. Here's the one that had not been cooked. And you can see I just break right in half. It's rigid. So, pre-cooking the noodles does make a large bit of difference and definitely worth it. Now you could certainly boil them on site, but you'd use a whole lot of fuel in order to do so. Hopefully you got a little bit of value out of this video. If so, please give me a like and subscribe below. And stay tuned for future updates to this channel.